First of all, Vladimir Guerrero has been playing third base the last few games, and he's normally a first baseman, of course. And what I didn't realize is when he was picked up in 2015, he came up as a third baseman
Yeah.
originally, and he says it's his favorite position. Who knew? He looks like the ultimate first base. I coach a lot of baseball, did this weekend. You can put the heavy set guys that don't move too well at third base also because they've got the strong arm and they don't have to play like a shortstop. So it makes sense. Something I thought was kind of interesting. And the Blue Jays are doing this because they're trying to spark several things, including that offense. But as you said, Prez, they've gotten back in current form here. They've won 5 out of 6. Orioles, of course, have been one of the best teams in baseball. And it's really been Yankees, Orioles in the AL East so far this season. I talked about this last week on Friday's show and also on First Pitch that although the Yankees are ahead of the Orioles, I think the Orioles are still the team to beat. If you look at the records against winning teams this year, the Orioles have played more winning teams. They've done better than the Yankees so far. Orioles are also the best home run hitting team in baseball. They have 84 home runs this season. But as is often the case, they strike out a good amount of times also. So I always like to look at the pitching matchup when you're facing the Orioles to see if the guy can throw strikeouts. And they're going against Gausman, who actually is a former Baltimore Oriole. So he'll be facing a lot of his teammates here tonight. And he is a good strikeout pitcher. In fact, had only 3 strikeouts in his last start against the lowly White Sox. Not sure what to make of that. But he had 10 strikeouts the game before that. In fact, he had 30 strikeouts in the 4 prior games. So he is a strong pitcher, I think, in this situation. And I do think he can somewhat hold Baltimore in check. And I like the fact he's going against his former team. I think it's a focused, motivated spot. Rodriguez for the Orioles, also an excellent strikeout pitcher. 24 strikeouts his last 3 starts. So I would actually look at the under in this game. I think there'll be plenty of Ks. I would look at some pitcher K props over. It opened 8. It's now down to 7.5, under 15. Always like playing those under 7.5s when possible because 7 is such a key number. And I think there's still some value with the Blue Jays and Orioles under 7.5. And also, being the Monday game after weekend series, travel without rest situation, I think the Orioles offense coming from home now to the road could be a little bit sluggish here in this first one.
I want to ask you about Baltimore, because to me, Baltimore is just a fascinating team. They were the single most profitable team in all of baseball in 2022. If you bet on them every game, the Orioles were number 1. Last year, same story, which doesn't happen very often, that the same team's most profitable 2 years in a row. Now it's the 3rd year with Baltimore, and the market's still not giving them a lot of respect, and they're still ranking among the most profitable teams in baseball. What are the markets missing with Baltimore, and are they still an undervalued commodity now at this stage of the campaign after 2+ years of overachieving betting market expectations?
Yeah, what's interesting about Baltimore, Teddy, it's such a great point to bring up, is you don't see teams do that back-to-back years much, but keep in mind, as you know, the viewers might not, that in 2021, Baltimore was as bad as anybody. They were minus 27 units. The 2020 season, of course, was a little bit of a strange, shortened season because of COVID. They were actually up 5.5 units. So we'll say the last full season behind that was 2019. The Orioles were at atrocious minus 19 units. So the 2 previous full seasons, they were down about 44 units, 2 of the worst in baseball in 19 and 21. So as with the financial markets, when things kind of bottom, we talk about not trying to catch those falling knives. You have to see a bottoming process. Our producer, Dan, who also hosts the baseball show, Dan the Man Alexander, his new favorite term that I coined Friday is the bottoming process. For some reason, he loves that. But it is what we've seen with the Orioles here. 19 and 21, they were the worst money burners in baseball. So when that happens, I think teams can become hot and ride longer as well because the market doesn't adjust as quickly. I will say I think going forward, I'd be neutral in the Orioles. It's situational for me. They're just not a pure play on. But I think that explains exactly what you're talking about, why they can be so good back-to-back seasons, because they were so bad, keep in mind, right before that.